Hello, hello. Long time no chat. Today I wanted to talk about what a starseed is and how to know if you might be a starseed. Welcome for folks who are joining. I want to just first start off by saying that I've always been attracted to the word starseed, but I always kind of was like, oh, I don't know, that's a little woo-woo, Starseeds, that just sounds a little woo-woo to me. So it was like, there was something that attracted me to this word. Hi, Sadie. There was something that attracted me to the word or the phrase starseed, but I also just felt like I didn't take it seriously enough. And I have been inspired from my own journey, my own spiritual awakening journey, to share some information with y'all today. For anybody out there who might be wondering like why they feel like a little bit different, like why sometimes they feel like the odd person out, why you might feel like you have this really robust mission to fulfill, and why it might sometimes feel like you're up against a lot more odds than the average person. And so that might be because you're a starseed. And so I wanted to share a little bit more about what that is. So just off top, you might be a starseed if you are considered to be the black sheep in your family. All right. And so also this message is definitely not for everyone. There's going to be a lot of folks who might tune into this message and not understand it, and that's totally okay. There's a certain frequency that I'm tapping into right now. So I'm just honoring and respecting where everybody's journey is at the moment. I'm speaking to a very specific population right now, okay? So if this message doesn't resonate with you, that's totally okay. There might be another message on my page that does resonate, but I'm speaking to a very specific population right now. And so I'm just gonna cleanse the energy of the space, activate the energy of the space. I've been very much in like a Piscean chill flow energy lately, and want to share that energy with folks. Anybody who's just kind of feeling like, I'm going with the flow. I'm really tapped into my intuition. I'm tapped into the spirit realm a little bit more than usual. We're in the Pisces season. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to do that. So you might be a starseed. So the first sign you might be a starseed is if you felt like the black sheep of your family, like you just don't really fit in. And like, you might have at some times been like, why am I in this family? Like, it just feels like you could be like at a family gathering and feel really lonely. You could feel like, you're related to your family by blood, but you don't necessarily feel like they're your kin for whatever reason. That might be because you're a starseed, okay? So a lot of starseeds, actually, they incarnate into a very particular bloodline. So we have to understand, a lot of y'all have been attracted to to the stuff I put on my page, either based on the sound healing, which that might be another indication that you're a starseed if you really resonate with certain sound frequencies. So that's how a lot of people come on my page. Another way is through the writings I do around grind culture and what grind culture is. And grind culture is very much a form of programming on our planet at this time. It's programming that is mass. It's being done on a massive scale that keeps us really stuck into this consciousness of slavery, And I'm not talking about slavery like from roots with the transatlantic slave trade. Like, that's a part of it, but that's only a very small sliver of it. Grind culture keeps us in a very distinct boxes, compartmentalizes us, saying like, this is your only reality that you should be tapping into. And how dare you try to tap into other realities? How dare you try to live a more free, a more liberated existence? And if you do try to live a more free and liberated existence, you will be demonized in a variety of different ways. Because if you're going out of the factory default settings of grind culture, okay? So a big part of my mission on this planet at this time is to show folks that another way is possible, and not just say that another way is possible, but demonstrate, teach, write about how another way might be possible, and using very grounded language to share this information with people. I come from a very esoteric kind of space, and yet I understand that folks got to also understand this content based on their five senses and on a very cognitive and logical scale. So that's part of my Starseed mission, though, is to help to assist with the deprogramming of grind culture so that we might live a more liberated existence. But with that being said, that's not easy to do all the time, especially when you folks have literally been programmed. And I'll be talking more about programming and the ways in which that kind of relates to where we're at now. But there's a lot of folks out there who won't even understand the message of why we should detox from grind culture, because they have been programmed that they're just on a certain setting. Okay. I don't know if some of y'all feel like that sometimes. You might be a starseed if sometimes you're out in like public places and you look around at folks and you're just kind of like confused by why people act the way that they act. A lot of times, like, I don't know, if you think about like Black Friday, you remember how before everything was online, how you would, Target or Walmart would have like the lines around the block for like the Black Friday sales, and people would be like bum rushing to go get the last TV or something like that. That's programming. It seems really weird. Like, why are people doing this? And it's like, there are some people who are more susceptible to programming than others. Okay. So if you just sometimes like are confused by like the way mass society works, that also might be a sign that you are a starseed. If you have a mission on this planet, so I gave you, my mission is a lot about getting people to reconsider sound and the ways that sound can create our reality, and then also to help people live outside of grind culture. So that's a mission I have. But if you have a mission where you're on this planet to do something, and it's a little hard, it's a little difficult, but you might be a starseed in that regard. And the thing about it is, another sign that you might be a starseed is if you are really interested in ancient civilizations. So if from a very early age as a child, if you've just been really attracted to civilizations like the Aztecs, the Incan empires, the Mayan empire, the Egyptian civilizations, if you've heard about Lemuria, or Atlantis, and if that's just always kind of tugged at your curiosity, you might be a starseed. Okay. Another way you might be a starseed is if you're just like naturally into the healing arts, right? So if you're just like naturally, you're just a natural healer, like whether that's, aromatherapy, herbalism, being out in nature, meditating, like more of these esoteric arts. If you're just naturally drawn to them, that also might be a sign that you're a starseed. So first of all, a lot of these practices are very, very older than what we know. And a little bit more about what a starseed is and why we're here at this time. Starseeds are basically beings who come from different realities, different planets sometimes, and there's like their DNA is encoded or seeded with the information and intelligence from different galaxies or different planets. And they're kind of like spiritual warriors, in a sense, because you got to think about it, right? If you think about you can find a lot of information from Star Wars. If you look at Star Wars, there's some, and also Star Trek even too. There's some information, there's some keys, there's some codes that you can find within there as well. When we think about the concept of war, we have to consider, like, here we are on the planet Earth, and is everything that we experience on this planet, has everything been created on this planet? Or is it a microcosm of a larger macrocosm? So that's something to consider. Are we? Yes. We got Sirius in the house. And that's another thing too, is your Starseed Origins could be also from a multitude of star systems. It's kind of like race, right? If we look at our DNA here on a human level, we might have a little bit of like indigenous blood. We might have African DNA. We might have European. Well, if we look at this from a multidimensional perspective, we also might be encoded with a lot of different star races that we can access at this time. Now, why am I talking about this? Because I'll be honest, like, I kind of knew that I was a little different, or that I was here with a really specific mission at this time, but I was even talking to a colleague of mine who is another Starseed, and we were talking about it. I'm like, I'm not really ready to like come out and say that I'm a Starseed like that though, because like I want to be taken seriously. Like, I don't know if a lot of people will take me seriously if I own this identity. And I don't know, like, this is the language that we have currently. It's kind of like, when we think about titles, that it can be a little weird, because it's like black, right? Like, I'm a black woman. I could also call myself an African American woman. I could call myself an Afro-Indigenous woman. Like, you got to find the right like title that feels good for you. I don't even know if I fully feel comfortable with the title of Starseed, but this is the language that we have. And we're at a point in human history where I really want to connect with folks who might be on the fence about, going to that next level to like learn more about your Starseed lineage, because the time is now. I will say that if you are a Starseed, other people know that you're a Starseed. Other beings know that you're a Starseed. Other beings that might not necessarily want you to be tapped into whatever mission that you're on during your time, and will ensure that you are surrounded by other beings or other people to detract you from your mission and vision. And we do that a lot through our social circles. We're very much socially conditioned to want to fit in. Fitting in is a really big war tactic that is used to keep us from not expressing what our true life purpose is. We want to fit in. We don't want to be too different. We don't want to rock the boat too much. But if there were ever a time to rock the boat, the time is now. And, just to get a little bit more braver, to get a little bit more courageous, to get a little bit more unapologetic about what your mission and vision is at this time. And I'm going to read this from Negress of Saturn. Glow when folks say that, and when people stay thinking they've met you, or you look like a family member / friend. Yes, like there is this like recognition that that starseeds can have of each other. Sometimes there's just going to be people that you meet on your in your path where it's just you're just going to have this remembrance of them. Hey, yes. And so there is something around there is something around like having a remembering. We're in this big process of remembering at this time. And so I want to support folks who might see themselves as a possible Starseed, spiritual warrior. That's another thing people say. If you're on a Starseed mission right now, if you're on planet Earth with a very particular mission to support with the elevation of consciousness, that's another thing that might mean that you're a Starseed. If you know that you're on this, you're here, you're born to help elevate human consciousness, you're a Starseed, okay? We got to think about the fact that the consciousness on this planet, I don't want to speak in static terms because things are changing and we can create our reality and we can shift reality. But I will say historically, for many, many years, the consciousness on this planet has been at an all-time low. and that's been by design. And, you know, we can just, we see what's happening on a global scale in the sense of like, we're seeing more flare-ups in terms of violence. We're seeing more flare-ups in terms of fear, having people being controlled by fear, by war, by social media, and that sort of thing. And so that is because the consciousness on the planet is raising. We're also seeing that the weather temperatures are changing quite dramatically now. We're going to see more of that as well. The Mother Nature, Mama Gaia, is also a part of this as well, and she is ascending with us. And you know, she's making it so that we go in the right direction in the sense of elevation as opposed to descension at this time. You know, sometimes we need to be in polarity. Sometimes we need to have negative in order to know what positive is. We need to have darkness in order to know what's light. You know, darkness is light in a lot of ways. Everything is source, and yet there is a balancing that must occur at this particular time. So I'm going to use these cards actually to tell a little bit more, just see what Spirit has to say about starseeds. Planetary engineering, yes. So even when we think about the planet Earth, I've said this on another live before, but everything is really in our face, y'all. So planet Earth, planned net. If you look at a map of the Earth and you see all the grid lines all on the map, just imagine that being a net of some sorts, you know? So there is like, we're in a quarantine. Our whole planet is in a quarantine, an energetic quarantine. And so things have been set up, or it had been. That's shifting, like right now. That's why things are feeling so hectic, is because the consciousness is shifting, and it's shifting quickly. But this planned net that we are experiencing, yes, it is. This planned net that we have, a lot of times it keeps us in a very lower consciousness, having us forgetting who we are, where we come from, the full capacity of who we are. And that's done by design, because it's like, once we start waking up to how fully powerful we are, then what happens? Then it's game over, because it's like, then you start not just knowing how powerful you are, but once you start liberating your ancestors and like doing the necessary healing work for clearing up your bloodline, clearing out the trauma in your ancestral bloodline, yeah, it's lethal. Then you become a threat. And so there have been forces on this planet at this time that have worked really, really hard to keep us from remembering who we are. So here's another sign that you're a starseed before we get into these cards. You're a starseed if you know that you are here to heal your bloodline. And that's hard. That's really hard, because you got to think about it. It's like, okay, if you have this, if you have this information of DNA from other planetary systems, right, and you incarnate as a human being in this particular lifetime, number one, you've had a lot of different experiences in those planetary systems. You probably have experienced war in different ways. You know, you might have been selected to come to this planet at this time because you have a very specific knowledge and wisdom around, a very specific knowledge and wisdom that you're supposed to integrate on this planet at this time. I actually did a past life regression recently and tapped into a past life of me as like a literal knight, which was weird. I was not expecting that. I was like, oh snap. But you know, like there's this warrior. I've always felt this warrior energy around me. I didn't know where exactly it came from, but you know, as you start kind of awakening to your multidimensional self, understanding that time is an illusion, time isn't linear. Everything, all lifetimes in certain ways are happening at the same time. And once you start unlocking your power and knowing that you can go into different timelines in order to, number one, gain understanding of what you're in this incarnation to do, also gain understanding of the karma that you specifically need to clear up, because that's another thing. Just because you're a starseed, that doesn't mean you're perfect. That doesn't mean you don't have your own deeds that you need to clear up. That doesn't mean that, your hands are clean, And so a lot of times you are here to heal yourself and your bloodline so that you can remember your natural gifts and so that you can teach others how to do the same. Okay, so it's kind of like you got to put yourself into the fire first, knowing that you're so badass that you're going to pass the test with flying colors. Like, it's not even a question. But then once you pass the test, you have that level of remembrance. Then you're able to teach large groups of people how to do the same. Okay, so I'm going to read this from I Am Alexa Augusti. I communicated with my 19-year-old self. This is dope that you're speaking on this. Yes, you can tap into, and like making that a daily practice. Because, I mean, just think about how many lifetimes you've lived, and how much access that you can gain from tapping into these lifetimes. Lifetimes on this planet and also lifetimes outside of this planet. Just because you have extra dimensional DNA from other star systems, that doesn't mean that you haven't lived many, many lifetimes on this particular planet as well. It's both and. It's like one and the same. So let's tap into these cards. So this is the Starseed Oracle. Yes, meditation is going to be a lifesaver. Meditation and also eating foods that are alive is going to be a lifesaver. I would say though, like, when it comes to your diet and when it comes to your spiritual practice, like, start where you are and then constantly challenge yourself to continue to build up your stamina as time goes on. Like, sometimes we can shame ourselves and be like, oh my God, I know I do. I've done that many times of like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or my diet isn't good enough, that sort of thing. And we can get caught in a shame cycle. And at the same time, like, just aiming to be a better version of our more evolved version of ourselves as time progresses, or as time seems to progress. So this is the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell, artwork by Danielle Noel. And so we are just going to see what the guides have to say for us at this time. So I'm just going to actually do a prayer as I shuffle. Dear bright and well-loving ancestors, please support me to be a clear channel as I read for the collective regarding what you want us to know at this time as it relates to Starseeds and the Starseed Mission. Just going to do a cleanse. Okay, so okay. Wow. This is cool. Okay. All right. So I want to show you the color palette. So one of my favorite oracle readers, her name is True Brilliance. You can find her as True Brilliance on Instagram. And also, oh yes, please. Okay, so Negress of Saturn has a book out called Alchemical Starseed. Oh yes, yes, please message me about that. So one thing True Brilliance taught me about just reading cards, like, is just to look at the color scheme first, even before what the message is, like looking at the colors. And so I'm seeing a really dark color scheme with these cards. This deck tends to be very like kind of ethereal and pearlescent, but I just so happen to pull the darkest cards out of this deck, which I think is awesome. And so this really kind of connects with where we're going with this. So the first card out actually was the Blue Flame. And so you see this like dark, this darkness, and there's this portal, and out of this portal, out of this ancient portal comes this blue light, this blue flame that's emerging. And it looks, you see this like form that's emerging out of this flame as well. So it says spontaneous awakening, activation, integration time. So I'm gonna read each card as well from the book, but just kind of looking at this, like I'm definitely seeing that there is like you have help. So that's one thing to know. So like as a starseed, you are gonna go through periods of extreme loneliness where you literally feel like you're by yourself. Because it's like, well, damn, like no one understands me, you know, like I really feel like I'm out here speaking to a brick wall, you know, and so it's going to really feel like that. And just like understanding that, first of all, you're not here to fit in, like really. And this is something as somebody who is a recovering codependent person, this is something like I don't have to tell myself this as much as I used to, but it's still a reminder that I have to give to myself. Like maybe now once a week, you know, it used to be several times a day. Now it's like, okay, once a week, let me just remind myself, like, I'm not here to fit in. I'm literally here to ruffle feathers. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm also not for everybody. And I also know like there's going to be, you know, I'm going to have a message that's really going to grind some people's gears. And that's because that message isn't necessarily for them. It's for another. Yes. Okay. So I am Alexa Augusti. I have merch that represents stars and roses. Yes. Please send that to me too. So like if you have something like related to this live that's like merchandise, if you inbox me, I'll share it in my stories too. And like refer people back to this live as well, because we're all contributing to this conversation. So yeah, inbox me your stuff and I'll reshare it in my stories. And thank you for putting these beautiful offerings out into the world. And yes, roses are the magic of roses. I mean, it's endless. It's really, people can write books and books on roses and still have so much more to say about it. That's how powerful the rose is. And it's very much a consciousness we need at this time. But when we think about the blue flame, knowing that like you are assisted, okay? So once you get out of the woe is me, why doesn't anybody understand me, this and this and that, you're actually supposed to be separated certain times. And you're a teacher. Anybody who identifies as being a starseed. Oh, Alex August. Is it? Okay, got it. Alex August. Okay. Oh, okay. For some reason I saw 2 A's. Sorry about that. So Alex August has some merchandise around stars and roses. So you're actually supposed to be isolated. You know, there's going to be certain parts of your mission, and you might have actually just gone through a period of what felt like extreme isolation. And a lot of times that's for your protection. As you kind of go through shedding a lot of the layers of a lot of the conditioning around like who the like society told you that you were. And once you start understanding like how untrue that was and you start really discovering who you are going to need to go through a part of your journey where you're literally set apart. You need to just be set apart. And that's not a like I'm better than or anything. It's like, no, you need to actually tap into your literal frequency for the first time, sometimes ever. And that might mean going ghost, you know. A lot of times we say like we make it kind of a bad thing when it's like, oh, they ghosted me or this and that. We're in a society where we're constantly expected to be on, constantly expected to be available to any and everybody. That's not going to fly. If you are a starseed and you have a very particular mission at this time, it is not your job right now to be there for everyone and everybody. Because if you're doing that on this earthly plane, then what you're not doing is tapping into very specific messages that you're here to receive from your spirit team. You got a whole council that's like really just, you got to ask for help. You got to tune in to their wisdom, but they're ready. They're like, we're out here, like, but we need you to communicate with us. Okay. So sometimes that's going to mean you being in a very solitary lifestyle. And I know for me, like, sometimes I've been shamed for that, for wanting to be by myself and this and that. But it's like, no, sometimes like that's what's required. And so when we look at this blue flame, I'm just going to read a little bit of what it says. It says, this is a card of awakening and energetic upgrades. Perhaps you're going through a period of spontaneous, I don't know what that was about. Sorry. Receiving visions or having experiences out of the ordinary. In the West, little is known about the process of spontaneous awakening, and it could feel scary when you're going through it alone. Elsewhere, they can be seen as auspicious experiences, with those going through them being treated with tender care. The blue beings are thought to be activating beings. Okay, so blue beings, that's Sirius energy, so Sirian energy. If any of this resonates, maybe you just start kind of looking into, also, you know, there's this, they just had that Avatar movie that came out. Another Starseed lineage to look into is called the Nihal Starseed. So that's spelled Nihal. The Blu-ray, you know, like Blu-ray DVD, Blu-ray Starseeds. If any of that sounds like it's resonating, then if any of that sounds like it's resonating, then you know, start kind of like learning about these different beings. It says the blue beings are thought to be activating beings with great potential for healing and upgrading our cellular structures. They appear in moments of extreme awakening, activating a physical Kundalini awakening and deep cellular and DNA healing. And so you sometimes, if you're being upgraded to that level, you're going to need to have some moments of like your own reflection. Okay. And that's all right. So just like not shaming yourself for needing to be alone. And so that also means like working on those boundaries, being okay with saying no, being okay with not being available. Like there's a reason for it. You're being prepared so you can have a deeper impact at this time. Okay. So that's the first card that came out, the blue flame. The next card that came out was another dark card called the Void. The Void. And so when I look at this, I think of the Tao. Just like where all source of creation comes from, the void. If you think about black holes in the universe, that's a lot of folks say like that's how everything has come into existence and being, is through the void. That chaos energy. And it can feel really scary because it's unknown. Darkness, a lot of times we immediately think it's evil because it's like dark, you know? And that's not necessarily the case. Dark, like black, encompasses all colors. You're not, so it encompasses everything. And sometimes you need to go into the void. You need to really get in tune with your own essence in order to know what the next step is. And so something that comes to my mind with this also is the Fool card in the tarot deck. So the Fool card is the number 0. It's the first card in the tarot deck. And so going to 0 point energy, a space of detachment, non-attachment. Detachment and non-attachment doesn't mean you don't care about anything. People will demonize you sometimes for not being attached to things, but that's where you're able to create when you get to 0 point energy. Okay, getting to 0 point energy, where you don't have judgments about things, where you're in a state of complete balance, in a state of complete zen, in the state of the Tao. That's where the magic happens, y'all. Getting to this dark place, not dark as in I'm depressed, but dark as in I'm clear. I'm at 0. I'm at the void. And so for starseeds who are here working on some really difficult missions at this time, I'm not idealizing this at all. It's very difficult. You are a spiritual warrior. You're fighting wars. Like you're fighting wars on the spiritual plane, multidimensionally, might I add. You're clearing up past life karma. You might have ops in your life currently that might be, you know, on the surface, they're your friends or your coworkers, but you know, in other ways, they're ops. I'm just going to be honest. They're ops. You just got ops, you know? And so that's spiritual warfare, you know? And so navigating that. So the best way, or I'm not going to say the best, but I'm going to say a really great strategy to support with that is getting into 0 point energy. And so Negress of Saturn mentioned it earlier around meditation. So really, like, meditation at this point, y'all, is not an option. Now, of course, how you meditate, hey, like, there's something for everyone out there, but getting into that quiet, still place in some particular way where your mind can get to 0 point. Because the mind will work against you too. The mind has a lot of programming going on that we're still working to clear. And so think of 0 as a really positive thing. You know, in our capitalist society, when we think of 0, we think, oh, well, I have nothing. Sometimes that's really good, especially if you're clearing karma, if you're clearing a lot of karmic baggage. You want to be at 0. You want to be at the full. You want to be at brand new, right? You want to be at that balance. You need to go to the void in order to do that. So if this is resonating, start looking up 0 point energy. I'll be doing some more talks around 0 point karma. That's like some Jedi stuff. Okay, and I'm not even here to say I'm fully there yet. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying I've made some really great strides, but it starts at 0, focusing on 0, focusing on the void, so that you're not repeating constant cycles over and over and over again. You got to get to the void, 0 point. So another thing that came up is another dark card, y'all. I'm telling you, I pulled all the dark cards in this deck. So this is the energy that's coming up right now. Perspective. None of this matters. Zoom out. Common ground. So you have like the earth is a little sphere surrounded in the black galaxy. And so a lot of times, like, this is another card around 0 point. Okay, 0, back to 0, back to black, because we get so caught up in the bigness of our problems, and they can seem huge. I'm not even gonna lie. They can seem really huge, and they could seem like they're crushing you. These problems are crushing you. But, you know, once you shift your perspective as knowing that you're a multidimensional being, knowing that you have been here before many, many times, and you've been in other planets, like living other existences many, many times. If you shift your perspective into a multidimensional perspective, you got this, you know, like the problem isn't so big anymore. Something I love to do is that's why I really love going into nature, going on hikes, because I can just look at a mountain and it just makes any problem that I have feel so small. It's like, damn, this mountain's been here for countless years. I don't even know how many years, maybe even 1,000,000 years sometimes. This mountain has seen it all. I can navigate this issue that I'm experiencing in my life. You go to the ocean and you think about how long that ocean has been there. Your problems, your perspective shifts in that regard, you know? And so I'm going to read a little bit about this perspective card. It says, none of this matters. Zoom out, common ground. Take a step back and look at the bigger picture of your life. Step away from the blinkered vision and reactive frame of mind of me against them. Change your perspective. Shift your point of view and zoom out, out, out. So I just spoke just earlier around how you might be here at this time as like a spiritual warrior, and once again, this message is not for everyone. This is only for I'm tuning into a very particular frequency with this live. This is not going to resonate with everyone, but if you do identify as a starseed, as somebody who is here for a very specific mission at this particular time, you might be going through some forms of spiritual warfare, where you can get into that polarized thinking of us versus them. And in certain ways, there are people in your life, whether they're your family, your friends, your coworkers, and it could feel like they're against you, right? It could feel like they're ops. And so that's one level of perspective. But even when I zoom out of that, you're still here as a starseed to raise the consciousness of the planet. And so it kind of goes back to that that quote Michelle Obama said that she said this about the Republicans at the time when Barack Obama was running for president again. And she was like, when they go low, we go high. And so thinking about like whatever blockages you're in, whatever obstructions, whatever blockages that you are currently experiencing, whatever negativity is being thrown at you, then the shade can be real. Yeah, the shade can be real. But whatever is being thrown at you, your job is not to match the frequency of what's being thrown at you. That's not what you're here to do. You can, but you're just going to be wasting time and causing more suffering for yourself and others. That's not what you're here to do. You're not here to play tit for tat. You're not here to fight fire with fire. You're actually here to transmute the energy. Hard as hell. Very difficult. You're going to have to go through such a deep level of ego training to do this. It's really intense. So I'm not trivializing this and saying, oh, it's easy. It's just all love. Just focus on love. On this particular planet, in this consciousness, love is what will save us. But we also have to remember what love is. Because love is not what they taught it. A lot of times when we think about what love is, we think about like the Valentine's Day, the Disney Channel, all that sort of stuff. That's all a lie and programming and conditioning. We have to remember what love is, number one, and shift our perspective. And so we're not here to go tit for tat. And that's what spiritual warrior is about, like fighting from your heart space. We're not here to fight fire with fire, because that's just going to keep our planet on the same level of consciousness that it's been at. We are here to literally, if anybody, like, think of it like this. If you are a starseed, if you identify as a starseed, anybody who comes into your energy field, whether or not they're for you or against you, will be forever changed by your presence. I want you to let that sink in. Anybody who messes or comes into your energy field that's an open invitation for them to elevate their consciousness. Period, point blank, in a story. That's how powerful you are. That's how powerful your frequency is. Okay. You got to know who you are. You got to remember who you are, though. You got to reclaim who you are, though, first, And so the level of power that you are able to wield, knowing that you are you initiate the frequency. You don't react to the frequency. You set the frequency. This is why you're here. Once you start operating from that level of consciousness, the problems that are sent your way, the shade that's sent your way, is transmuted and alchemized. It can't touch you. And so that's the big part of the shit. But you got to go into the void to get there. You got to go into the shadow. A lot of times, you also, anybody throwing shade towards you right now, I don't care what kind of warfare they're throwing at you. I don't care if they are literally possessed by demons, because that exists, y'all. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but like, demons are real. But whatever that is, like, they are here. They're number one. They can't, none of that can impact you if there's not something in you to heal that resonates with that frequency. Okay. And that means going into, where are your demons? Okay. Where are you harboring demons? Like, also looking at, like, a big part of this is accepting responsibility and accountability. A lot of times, maybe we didn't do something in this lifetime. Like, maybe we've been real cool in this lifetime, but we might have some other lifetimes where we were, some other stuff was going down. Like I said, I tapped into a past life where I was in the medieval times, and I was training as a knight. And I had to think to myself, I'm like, well, damn, what was I doing back then? I don't know. I don't know what karma I accrued back then that I'm also here to clear up as well. And that's just one sliver of a lifetime that I tapped into. So if you feel like folks are going to war with you, go to war with yourself. Go to war with the aspects of yourself that in any way resonate with the frequency they're throwing towards you, and find ways to activate the heart space. That means clearing up a lot of trauma blockages before you can even really get to that heart space stuff. And I'll be posting more content and stuff. And I have my Patreon and stuff where I'm like going a lot more into this stuff as well. I also have a retreat coming up in Machu Picchu, Peru, called the Sacred Leadership Retreat. It's in June. And so this is for folks who are ready to, like, embody their calling as a spiritual leader, but, like, not just not just like compartmentalize, like, oh, I'm a spiritual leader on the side, and then I also like I'm an HR professional, you know, in my 9 to 5. It's like no. Let's embody that. Let's merge those identities together, because the time is now. Like, we are elevating in consciousness, and spirituality is not just a side thing. It's not just something we do on the weekends. It's not just something we do at church or something like that. Like, it's a lifestyle. And there's a certain level of energetic hygiene that we need to maintain for the times that we're in now. And there's a certain way in which we need to be leading from our heart space, in wherever we're at, whether we are running a corporation, whether we are in a classroom, whether we are a nonprofit professional, whatever that is, there are certain tools and jewels that are very much needed at this time. So inbox me if you're interested in some more information about the Sacred Leadership Retreat. We're going to be activating literal portals in Machu Picchu, Peru. It's going to be epic. But a big part of that is ego training, y'all. We got to come face to face with ourselves. Okay. So all this us versus them, and they're doing this to me. Why are they doing this to me? It's okay. Like, I'm not here to say like stuff your emotions in and like, you know, just bypass your emotions. I'm not saying that, but I am saying like we got to get past that victimhood, because it leaves us, it prevents us from fully accessing our power and nullifying the situation. And that's what we want to do. Okay, so with that, next card, Forge, Don't Follow. Okay, Forge, Don't Follow. Pave a new path. Be the leader you wish you had. Okay? Be the leader you wish you had. Where did I do my past life regression? I did it in the comfort of my own home with a past life regression meditation. So I went through a pretty big third eye chakra awakening at the from the tail end of last year through about like within the past month. And just really set the intention. You know, my guides were basically saying like, it's time for you to really work on activating your third eye. And so I did a lot of work with my spirit team, but then also just did a lot of work with getting to that 0 point energy I was talking about. Understanding myself as a multidimensional being, clearing out a lot of trauma blockages that kept me from fully seeing you know, what was in front of me and what was around me. And then it became a lot easier to tap into past lives. It takes a lot of, it's not just, oh, you can do like a meditation and get there. But depending upon what's going on in your Akashic records and like your etheric realms, like you might have blockages that are maybe self-imposed because there might be traumas, past life traumas that you don't even want to like access, or you also might have blockages that other beings are imposing because they don't want you to access your power. It could be a mixture of the two. So I did it in the comfort of my own home. But yeah, if you're interested in learning more about past lives and you're like, I'm ready. First of all, like set the intention. I'm ready. All right. And then start asking for assistance. Start asking for help from your guides as well. And if you're like interested in learning more about like how I activated my third eye and stuff like that, you can reach out to me and I can point you in, you know, the direction and stuff. So I do a lot more of this work with folks in my Patreon and in one-on-one sort of stuff. So I'm here to be of service with that too. But Forge, don't follow. Okay? Forge, don't follow. So you're not here to fit in. As many times as you need to tell yourself that, so for that it can sink in, because we as humans, like we want to feel like we belong. That's how they get us a lot of times. We don't want, that's how cults are cults are everywhere, by the way. It's not just Jim Jones, like out in the woods or whatever, like it's everywhere. This idea of like, you know, you don't want to rock the boat too much because you don't want to seem too extra. That's kind of how they get you, right? And if you're a starseed, like that has to be squashed. Like just understanding like I'm here to influence the energy of this space, period, end of story. Yeah, like this is for me to, I'm here to shift the vibration, you know? And so like, and having that confidence and that knowingness, a lot of that's going to come from your solar plexus chakra. Our solar plexus chakra has been probably, I don't know which chakra has been tampered with the most, but the solar plexus chakra is up there. That's our power center. That's our inner sun. It's been manipulated quite heavily amongst human beings on this planet because that's our power source. Think of how powerful the sun is. Think of all the life that the sun provides us with. The solar plexus chakra is like that, but for our own energy fields. It's actually the seat of your subconscious mind. So when you do your shadow work, a lot of it is actually going to go through the solar plexus. You got to clear that out, make that sun brighter for yourself in order to really fully activate your power. So I'm going to read a little bit about this forge, don't follow. This is very much like more of a solar plexus thing. It says, pave a new path, be the leader you wish you had. If you wait until the path is perfectly paved, you won't be forging your own path, and you'll likely not even take the first step. Don't let a small detail like being unable to find someone to show you the way be the reason you don't step forward and lead. Let it be the reason that you do. So here's the thing. Let's just go back to this grind culture detox thing that I've been talking about. By the way, if you haven't gotten that book already, it's a great book to help to initiate your journey of like finding, if you find yourself guilty for not being productive, or if like you want to be a spiritual leader, you want to really go into your awakening journey, but you're having a hard time detaching from like the 9-to-5 grind and all that stuff, or you're just feeling like, oh, I'm lazy, I'm worthless if I'm not producing. If that program is running in your head, the Grind Culture Detox will support you with that. It's not just a book, it's kind of like a coaching guide too. There's a lot of practices in there as well to support you with that. But all that to say, can I tell you the way, like, the extreme negative reaction? I mean, I still get it, but, like, people thought I had they're like, what happened to her? You know, when I started talking about grind culture, and I was doing it at work, like, I was doing it as, like, I was, like, on the executive team, like, you know, going into board meetings, talking about grind culture and all this sort of stuff, and, like, we need to rest, and, I mean, people were like, she's gone bonkers. Like, seriously. And, people would just roll their eyes at me. Oh, she's talking about grind culture again. Here she goes. You know, like, well, what do you expect us to do? All that to say, like, the grind culture detox started with memes on Instagram, you know, and a lot of people were like, oh, well, yeah, I know you got your little Instagram page and you're, talking about grind culture on it. You know, like, that's kind of it, very much like minimized it, very much was like, you're a quack, basically, you know. And you're going to get that. Whatever you're here to do at this time, you're here to create something so different, something that the world desperately needs, but there has been no space for it to be created. You are here to not wait for the space, not wait for the crack to, emerge, and then, okay, now I can walk through. There's my path. Okay. That's not what you're here to do. You're here to bust shit down, and to do so in a way that's not like, you don't have to like be so aggression is, sometimes flow is aggressive. Being in flow, being so relaxed and so calm when everybody's full of frenzy. That's a form of force. That's a form of power, So I'm not saying like go to war with people and, cuss people out and all that kind of stuff like that. I went through that phase of like just being really angry and like indignant and like us versus them or me versus them. And it's natural. I'm not going to say like, don't go through that. I think that's like a part of your awakening journey. But like all that to say, like, if I had just let that, and I'm not saying it didn't get to me. It did a lot because I am a recovering people pleaser and a recovering codependent. And I spent a lot of my life being the nice one and to being the helper, and everybody would go to me for, you know, like the dependable one and all that stuff, like the one who had all her shit together and stuff. And I had to like let all that go to like really follow my path. And so, yes, you know, we go through stages. I'm in a stage now. This is not, I don't think I'll ever, we're always going to be growing and evolving. There's so much to learn. So anyways, you're not here to follow. You're here to forge. You're here to be a leader. And this is why I'm called at this time to create a space for sacred leaders, people who are leading. There's a changing of the guard right now. There's a regime change happening. Okay. Oh, hey, okay, Atlantis Lumia wants to go live. Hey, let's do it. Atlantis Lumia is a starseed. I have never spoken with Atlantis Lumia, but I have really resonated with their content on Instagram. And so, hey,
Hello.
what's up?
How you doing?
I'm pretty good. It's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm really resonate with the Starseed and the Starseed Awakening.
Tell me about you know, I got a chance, I listened to a podcast you did with someone around, and this, you know, I think this was around the time when I was a little on the fence about like if I was calling myself a starseed like that, you know, like I was always curious about it, interested, but you know, your story, and I know you had your awakening at a pretty young age, but you know, what would you say to people who are going through that phase of like, am I a starseed? Do I resonate with that? Do I really want to come out of the starseed closet like that? Like, what would you tell them? What advice would you give us?
You know, I'd really say if the term and the experience is something that kind of just makes sense to you, then it's probably best just keep going with it, you know, because it can be tough at times and it's not always easy, but it is something that does become rewarding in the end. There are a lot of rewards.
What rewards have you experienced with your awakening journey?
Well, the main thing I would say is just kind of recognizing and seeing the kind of divinity and the kind of flow in life, because it's something that isn't always apparent or obvious when you're not awakened. When you do awaken, I would say it's just something that brings a lot of meaning and a lot of just grace, I would say. A lot of grace.
Yeah. I think for me, like, once I think a big piece of my journey, my awakening journey has been around trust. Like, it's okay to trust. So being somebody who grew up in like a very like traumatic environment, like I was kind of always on the defense of like, okay, I always got to have a plan A, B, and C, you know, like, okay, if this falls through, I have this to think about. Okay, if that falls through, I have option C. And I had to let a lot of that go when I like really got in touch with like my spirit team and my spirit guides. And I still work on detachment and stuff, but I mean, being trusted that I am being held and guided by the universe and seeing the ways they've come through for me, it looked like I can't make that a coincidence. There's no way that's a coincidence. That has been really magical, like straight up magical. I'm like, yeah, no, this is magical. This is, I think that's been really cool, of just like knowing like I don't have to have it all figured out. Like the world or the universe doesn't work like that for me to have it all figured out. I can allow, you know, and that's been really rewarding to just not feel like the world is on my shoulders like all the time, because that's an illusion. but like to see past the illusion has been really magical for me. Yes, Jose, thank you for your presence and for your energy. Yes, universal magic.
Yeah, the spirit team thing is really important, I would say. They're always like sending little messages and just always letting you know that it's all going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, for folks who are still working on that, that piece of like contacting their spirit team, there are a slew of guides that are here to help you. I will say something that I experienced in my journey is, you know, working on communicating with ancestors that might not be fully in their elevated consciousness, or they might be stuck between realms or dimensions, and like clarifying, like when I work with, when I ask for guidance, you know, dear bright and well loving ancestors, or like, you know, elevated ancestors, like ancestors or, you know, guides that are here for my highest good, like really clarifying and setting boundaries the same way we set boundaries on the earthly plane, doing so in the spirit world. Because I will say there are trickster spirits running amok. Okay. Like that is a thing. It's a real thing. So I will say, like, and that was a part of my like trust, you know, I went through a trust thing with that too, but like really understanding more about that also helped me too. So I want to just put that out there, because, you know, it can get a little wild, you know, in other dimensions too. And there are like well-meaning, benevolent beings that work in really beautiful ways, that are here to support us, you know. The numbers, I'm seeing the numbers. Yeah. Are there any other words of wisdom or anything else you'd like to share with the collective at this time? Atlantis.
I think that's it for now.
Well, thank you. Thank you for requesting. You know, I was actually, I've been wanting to do that more, just being like, who wants to get on the live? And thank you but I think there was like a little bit of a nervousness around it. So thank you for just requesting to be on the live, and I'm gonna do that more, you know, just like get that open invitation. Yes, 222. And yeah, the numbers change as well. Well, thank you so much. So I'm gonna actually read the last card, and I'm gonna close out with this last card, which is karmic relationships. Okay, this was pulled, karmic relationships. So if you are a star seed, a lot of times you might be experiencing karmic relationships. And so we're from different star systems, like I mentioned earlier. Just like we have like different cultural DNA, we can also have different interdimensional DNA. Okay, we can also have that. And so this can be a source of a lot of hurt and a lot of pain sometimes, our karmic relationships. There are people that we have contracted with, or maybe you would say beings that we have contracted with to learn lessons with, and to do so through polarity, to do so through duality. And I'm going to be honest, a long time ago in my, you know, I've been on the spiritual path for a while, but I've just only recently really decided to step out of duality consciousness. Yes, definitely. So I'm gonna uplift this question. Do you think parents can be karmics? Absolutely. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm not here to talk about anybody's parents right now, okay? But what I will say if you identify as a starseed, and yeah, if you identify as a starseed, you signed up to be a part to help clear a certain bloodline, like the bloodline that you are incarnated into at this time. That's like a part of your mission, is to help elevate the bloodline. Okay, and that's a lot of work, and a lot of times you end up incarnated in very interesting family dynamics. And that's not to say, just because, also karmic is weird. Like, we've all been karmics at one point, I think. Okay. I personally, the way I see karmic is, and a lot of times people even use it as like a name calling word for people now. I've been hearing, like, on YouTube and stuff, they'll be like, oh, they're a karmic, and then it's like, oh, well, they're not awake, or they're here, they're against me, they're a karmic, that sort of thing. I'm going to say that, number one, we want to get out of duality consciousness around bad versus good, us versus them. In this journey that we're on, in this human experience, we have different roles that we're here to play. Just like a lot of us are here to elevate the consciousness of the planet, and to do so through bringing in, like, interdimensional knowledge and wisdom, or forgotten knowledge and wisdom from ancient civilizations. Because we have to remember, like, these ancient civilizations that you're attracted to, the reason why you're attracted to them is also because they were seeded by interdimensional beings from some of the same star systems that you share lineages with. So of course you're going to have more connection. You're going to have some more connections with them, So, so there's a part of us here on this collective that are here to share with people, like, the remembrance of this information and this knowledge and wisdom. There are also people on this planet that are here to create friction, to help us to have our spiritual awakening journeys. There's a reason why, why is it that, like, when we go through really hard times, that sometimes we become more spiritual? That Sumerian lineage. Yep. And I'm still learning about that. I'm very intrigued by that. I'm very much awakening to that as well. But that's something I've always felt connected to since I can remember. I was, like, all about ancient Sumeria and, like, learning about Mesopotamia when I was, like, in grade school. Like, I was all about it. And just there was, like, a certain calling or pull for that particular lineage too. But yeah, so there are people here that are here to create friction. They're actually here to kind of like play the bully, play the bad guy, I guess, to help us to ascend, to help us to, like, remember ourselves. Because in this particular plane of existence that we're in, sometimes we need that friction. Not always. I think we're shifting out of that dynamic, actually, as the planet ascends and stuff. But there are people who need to show us what we don't want in order. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been through a really toxic relationship before, and you've been like, oh damn, like, that relationship was really hard, but, like, I needed to go through that experience because now I know what I don't want. I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but it's kind of like that, like, sometimes you need to have a certain parental relationship to know what it is you need to heal. A lot of times our parents will pass down their genes, all of their hangups, they'll pass them down to us. And we might vow to never be like our mom, to never be like our dad, to, whatever. And then we find ourselves in those same karmic cycles and those same karmic loops that they were in, if we don't make the conscious decision to clear up the lineage, to clear up the karma. And it's a very tedious process. And that's another reason why we need to get out of this grind culture 9-to-5 thing, because, like, our 9-to-5 at this point needs to be clearing our bloodlines, getting back to 0 point with karma, with our karma, like, recognizing and remembering our gifts, both in, past lives and in multidimensional perspectives. That's our 9 to 5. I mean, that's my 9 to 5 right now, and I've been blessed, following my guidance. I have been provided for in very abundant ways. But I'm living outside of the traditional grind culture timeline to make that happen. Yes. And so, with that being said, to the question around, can your parents be karmic? Yes. And you might, and also always remember, like, what does your heart say? What does your intuition say? That's why we got to really do the work with our hearts and our third eye. Because we live in a society where they'll tell us the sky is green when we see that the sky is blue. It's like, no, but the sky, it looks blue to me. It's like, no, it's green. I think you might need glasses. Like, it's really green. Like, that's the society we're living in right now. The gaslighting is extreme. Did y'all know that gaslighting was the most Googled word in 2022? The amount of times, like, it went up 1,700, like over 1,700 times. Searches for gaslighting went up on Google in 2022. That's so just let that sink in. Like, that's the society that we're living in. So it doesn't matter, like, if you're feeling weird vibes from somebody. Yeah, if you're feeling weird vibes from somebody, I don't care how long you've known them. I don't care what y'all went through. Like, there's a reason for it. Like, we got to really get in touch with our heart space and our third eye, because there's a reason, and I'm going to share more about my journey around that, because it's pretty deep, but I'm not going to do it at this time. But that's something I'm working on sharing more to support other people with their journeys with that. But yes, karmic relationships. So if you are here to clear up karmic cycles, that might mean you need to be in a karmic cycle right now, so that you get the tools and wisdom that you need to clear up that cycle. And that cycle that you're experiencing with this person right now, it literally may have been happening for lifetimes, both on this planet and in other dimensions and galaxies. And I know that could just be like, oh dang, you watched too many Star Wars movies. Like, hey, if that's what you think, that's what you think. But it could be that deep, and so perspective, like, this is something you've encountered many time before. And then also, like, accessing wisdom and knowledge from other lifetimes that you can accessing knowledge and wisdom from other lifetimes that you can use as, like, your spiritual arsenal to support you with this journey. So let's see what they say about karmic relationships. Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, conflict. The constellation Orion is thought by many to have been a place of great polarity and eventual unity. Some believe that many starseeds who were part of this cosmic history are incarnate on Earth now and are playing out karmic relationships from Orion times. Perhaps you're one of them. Polarity causes conflict and highlights separation. However, because of this, conflict can also result in unity and growth. Too many misunderstandings are caused when we don't open our heart and mind and see things from a different point of view. When we go into reactive second-guessing mode instead of gathering the courage to open our heart, we should admit that we may have reacted because of our own woundings and then find mutual ground. We're all innocent children looking to be seen, understood, and cherished. It's much harder to grow closer through conflict than it is to grow further apart. And yet, that's the invitation of conflict. It's easy to react and take things personally. It's more challenging to see the innocence of all involved and find a way to grow closer through the conflict. It's through relationships that we grow the most. And so, like, if you are in a karmic relationship, like, understanding and remembering that they are also a part of source, remembering, like, remembering their God self, even if it could feel really difficult, and transmuting the energy, like really doing some intensive shadow work. Shadow work is really important if you're in a karmic relationship, and setting the intention to transform and like you know, to let go sometimes. Like a lot of times our society says like we got to make things work, you know, that's my whoever, that's my my mom, that's my friend, that's my partner, that sort of thing. And that's true, but then there's also times where like distance is required for growth to occur, and that doesn't mean that you have to hold hate in your heart towards them, but it's okay to have, you know, need your space. And so so yeah, that's kind of like my spiel on starseed stuff. If you are a starseed, or if you're resonating with the content of being a starseed, just start kind of, you know, dipping your toe into it. You can get a starseed chart reading in different places, just like you get like your astrology chart done. Also, like a lot of times your astrology aspects are tied to different starseed lineages. So I'll give you an example. So karmic relationships is, they mentioned the Orion constellation. In Orion is a constellation that's based upon a lot of duality, good versus evil, that sort of thing. It's also a lot of times you can find Gemini. So you know Gemini are the twins. So if you have a lot of like Gemini placements in your chart, you might have like some Orion energy to work out. Or yeah, like also a lot of like twin flame stuff. There's a lot of times you can find a lot of twin flame energy if you have Orion roots or and stuff like that. And no star system is like good or bad. You know, some are more notorious than others. Orion is definitely one of them that's more notorious than some other star systems. But there is no like good or bad. Capricorn, so it depends, like it depends on when you were what part of Capricorn. But you know, there's Polaris, which is one to look into. That's kind of more for like the late December Capricorns. Cygnus is something you want to look into as well, which is more around like the January Capricorn. Cygnus is spelled Cygnus. So yeah, and so I would say the two I know of are Cygnus and Polaris for Capricorn. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. Keep thriving, keep caring for yourself, keep leading, keep staying in your power, and until next time, bye.